Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the Home and Finance Show. I'm Janis Bradley, broker-owner of JB Real Estate Consultants. And joining me is my co-host,
Diana Rice-Wilkerson, lender with Fairway Independent Mortgage.
Diana and I are your seasoned, trusted advisors committed to personally navigating you through the buying home and lending process. This show is designed to provide you with current and relevant information about different aspects of home buying, home selling, and lending so that you are knowledgeable when making decisions for you and your family. You can also hear us on Saturdays on Radio 1, 1310 AM, 92.7, and 95.1 FM at 1 o'clock. That said, if you are in the market to buy, build, or refinance, we'd love to represent you. You can reach us at the contact information below. Now on with the show. Diana Rice-Wilkerson, Shelley Goodsman.
Hello.
Hey, beautiful day, isn't it?
It is a gorgeous day. I'm
Yes,
just glad
yes.
it's spring weather.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Sun, just give me sun.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes.
Well, today is going to be Diana Rice-Wilkerson's, her information that she wants to share with you. Now, she's calling her show, this take is just so you know, more insider information. She's always liking the insider information. And you know, quite frankly, with the lender, there's a lot of insider information. Wouldn't you say, Shelley?
There's too much sometimes.
So we're going to ask her a couple of things, you know, what it means and so on and so forth. So, Shelley, you want to start first with asking Diana a question?
No, I'm going to start first.
I'm ready.
Diana,
I'm
do you
ready
want to talk?
Okay.
You want to talk first? Ask you the question? All righty then.
Well, you know, just to kind of talk
She's
a little
gonna
bit
give us
more.
some rules.
And
That's
just
what Diana
so
said.
you
Give us some rules.
Yeah, to just kind of, you know, further explain, just so you know.
Just so you know.
Yeah, just so you know. So one of the things that it's just like Janis said, there's always insider information with lending. So one of the things I just want to spend time talking about today, the topics that I will spend time talking about today, that we're going to go a little deep with, is just so you better understand what's going on. Because this, as the borrower, what you're hearing is make an application, give me your pay stub, give me your bank statement, give me your driver's license, give me.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, by the way, can you give me your bank statement again? Can you give me your driver's? Hey, I didn't like the picture that you sent me of the bank statement. It was crooked. Can you make it straight? The one that you printed off the internet doesn't have the URL number on it, so I can't use it. Can you resend it?
And you need the back.
And you need the back, whether it has information on it.
That's so important.
It doesn't even matter. And so, see, this is why we're going to have this conversation today, and we're going to go deep. I tell my pre-approved buyers, because up front, when you're trying to get pre-approved, if we took you through this at the time you were trying to get pre-approved, you would not go through the lender you're working with, because you will have fallen out. So what we do when you're getting pre-approved, at least this is what I do, I get all the pertinent information. You know, the fact that you do have a job, I do get the pay stubs, I do get the income docs. Some of these other things, I know that I can get the document to supply the information, but I don't have to get it right now. But the part that we're going to talk about is why we need it. You know, because I tell my pre-approved buyers, you love me now. I mean, they're so excited when you pre-approve them. But I promise you, the day's going to come when your phone rings, you look in your phone and you're going to see my number and you're going to say, ugh, you know, I promise you. So this is why we do what we do. And just, I feel if people know more, it doesn't change your emotions so much because you're going to still be aggravated, but we want you to understand. So that's why we're going to go deep today. And where we're going to start is with the file flow. And where we're going to start is with the loan officer, okay? And just so borrowers understand, the loan officer has no power, guys. The loan officer is the person, it's going to be your first contact to make application, but we have no power. What we should have is knowledge about what it takes to get this file approved.
That's your power.
But they don't let us have a sign-on authority of any type, I promise you. No, because we would approve everybody. Everybody would get a house. So you know, your initial relationship is going to be with the loan officer. And we are professionals, so you may think that we can do certain things we can't do, okay? So our job basically is to get all the information and the documents from you that's needed to approve a loan. Now keep in mind, so you understand the loan officer's world and mindset. You're coming to the loan officer for a loan. They probably have somewhere from 5 to 15 loans they're juggling. And then they have maybe another 20 or 30 that are in pre-approved stages, various stages. So keep in mind this part, but you, since you're applying, you're gonna get most of their attention. Okay, you're the priority at that time. Once your file goes under contract and that file makes the next move, you're now going to a processor. And so what's the processor do? The processor now they are supporting multiple loan officers. They might support anywhere from 3 to 7 loan officers. So they're getting everybody's files. Guess whose file gets the work done on it at this point? Processors working on everybody's files. My customer, I've asked them to resend me a bank statement. Processor saying she needs a bank statement. We don't have the bank statement. Guess whose file's getting the work done?
The one that has
That already has
everything.
the bank
Absolutely.
Has everything,
Absolutely.
and including something you don't need.
Right.
Just
Absolutely,
to be sure.
just to be sure.
Okay.
So like I asked the customer for a document on Monday, a week ago this past Monday. He said, I can't get it until Friday. Maybe he couldn't, and maybe he could. It's all in what he determined was important for him.
Okay.
But that 5 days, 4 or 5 days, that can make the difference between you getting approved and you not, you closing on time and you not.
That's the key.
That's the key. And keep in mind, and this processor has got a lot of files that he or she's working with. The next step, and she has no authority either, guys. So you're dealing with the first 2 people that you're going to be coming in contact with when it comes to the loan process has no authority. But our job is to make sure that file is ready for the underwriter who does have the authority. Now, the underwriter has got files that may be coming from 7 or 8, 10 loan officers, 10, 15 offices. So and he or she doesn't know which file. They don't get to go cherry pick. The file comes up in the queue. They're going through the file, and especially when you're saying, oh, but I need to close this loan on Friday, today's Wednesday. If I can get this cleared to close today, blah, blah, blah. And the underwriter calls up the processor, and this is Fairway because this is why I love them. Hey, I'm missing X. If you can get me X, I can clear this to close. Okay, processor reaches out to me, says, Diana, can we get X? I call you, you say, well, I can't get that until this evening when I get home. That may be a very legitimate response.
Right.
But if you're trying to close Friday, you might have to take your lunch and go home.
And do it right now.
And you guys, this is not being mean or anything. I'm just telling you how the flow goes, why we are like sometimes hounding you, but we're always trying to make sure you get closed on time. But it does require you sometimes to just break away. Some people have taken days off work. They use their PTO time because they have to go to the bank. They have to focus. They've got to get tax transcripts or tax papers. Some people have taken a week's vacation. Some people have said after closing, if I had known then what I know now, I probably would have just taken the full month off, like on a personal leave or something. So we're saying, yes, it's a lot to it, but it's worth it when you get the house. But I just kind of want you to know the pyramid structure goes from your loan officer, who you can, ask questions with. They can get back to you pretty quickly. When that file moves into processing, it's no longer with your loan officer. And so things can move a little bit more slowly. And when that file moves into underwriting, now we're in with the big leagues. So if information is being requested, you want to respond very quickly.
So Diana, you made a comment that the underwriter, is coming down this chute.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
So, but is this particular loan that has the urgency? Okay. So the urgency of the loans that are in, it's little, what they say, queue, whatever.
Yeah, in the queues.
That doesn't matter. It's just how they get it.
It's how they get it.
Okay.
Now you can always ask for a rush and do some other things to really expedite it all the way through the process. But different underwriters have different personalities, and some will, some it's an email, hey underwriter, we're trying to close on Friday, blah, 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 blah. And they'll say, oh yeah, send it to me. Hey, I may not get to it until this evening, right? They may be home working. And others are like, I will not be getting to that today.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
You know,
okay. So
different
another
personality.
question. What's the average time for an underwriter, would you say, to process a loan? Well, underwrite.
Fairway, okay. It can be, for Fairway, the initial reviews are given a different priority than the resubmissions that have already been reviewed once.
Okay.
So the initial reviews, it's somewhere between 1 to 2 days. Okay.
Underwriting that file?
Because everything's automated and, with the exception with a few docs, underwriting that file. And there's a lot of work that's done on that file by the loan officer and the processor before it gets to underwriting. If you want your file back and not be suspended, okay, because if you just garbage in, garbage out. If you throw garbage in and they can't come to a decision, they're going to suspend it, okay? But yeah, generally 1 to 2 days. Speed, it's all about speed. Generally 1 to 2 days, that's the initial review. The file is going to come out of underwriting subject to a few conditions. Then once those conditions are met, the file goes back into underwriting. Generally, that's a 24-hour turn.
Okay.
Okay? They try not to submit the files more than twice, the initial review and it may be a third time depending on the complicated files. But to the borrower, all I can tell you is it is going to be to your benefit to focus your mind, body, and soul on this process. Because if you are late in providing any information, then it can affect your closing date. The question may be, why wasn't I told this up front? Many times, just remember this, anything you're giving to us, we're looking at again to thoroughly evaluate. So many times it could be something that no one knew up front. That's why you weren't told. So if you give us a bank statement in the middle of a process and we look at the bank statement, there was a $2,000 deposit there that doesn't coincide with your pay stub or isn't consistent with your normal banking, we're going to ask all kinds of questions about that. And so every time we ask a question, generally we're going to be looking at more docs. Every time we look at more docs, there's a chance we're going to be asking more questions.
You keep adding on the time on the calendar. Just real quick, what I thought of when we were talking about the file flow is that basically you're walking someone through the monopoly board of buying a home, right? Like it is very important that you do. All of us, most of us have experienced that, right? Like, do not pass go, do not collect $200.
Right.
Like you are walking us through why this section here is so important and why why you also need to look at your own documents that you're sending.
Right.
If you wanted it, if you're getting requested that bank statements for the third time, well, maybe I should look at what I sent the first or second time.
Yes.
And maybe that's kind of the issue.
Yeah.
But you breaking it down, I think that's really helpful to let them see how it's going to the next process.
Going to the next person.
It just keeps going.
Yes.
Right?
And I know as a realtor, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Janis.
I know as a realtor, I'm trying to make sure that they understand these dates and they need to meet these dates, and they, in order, because of the fact that the lender does try to meet the date of the closing. So they do have to have it when they say they have to have it.
Right.
Also, what I really have been trying to do more so is to make sure that they're understanding, the buyers are understanding that this seller, you have their house off the market.
That's right.
And they are planning to close at a particular time. And maybe they're trying to buy a home.
Right.
So, hey, it's that what I call that snowball, which I hate to be a part of, but it is what it is. So I think realtors need to kind of help that flow also.
I love that 100% because it is a team sport. Getting a home is a team sport. The buyer, the seller, the agents, the lenders, appraisers, everybody's part of the team and we've got to do our part. And being disconnected from dates and deadlines is deadly. So being disconnected from that is deadly. I promise you it will not go off the way you want it to.
Now, does the customer, do they only talk to you during this loan process or do they also talk to
The processor.
the processor? They do speak with the processor?
Yes,
Okay.
it can be me, it could be someone on my team, or it could be the processor.
Okay.
When the file leaves me and my team, and it normally is going to be the processor or one of us. And it all depends on what it is too. If it's something simple as I need the March bank statement, all 4 pages, front and back, processor will probably ask for that. If the underwriter is going deep and says, hey, I need a profit and loss statement spanning from this time to this time, and I know I have a relatively new self-employed person, it's going to be me.
Okay.
Because they may not even know what that is.
Gotcha.
So next we're going to talk about buybacks, buybacks and scratch and dent.
Now that's a mouthful right there.
Loans. I should say buyback loans and scratch and dent loans. What the heck is that? Now you guys, this is what drives, give me 15 pages. Why did you look in that direction? Explain it. Just making, why did you do this? Why did you do that? What were you thinking when you did this? What were you thinking when you do that? This is what's driving that. And what is this? Buybacks, scratch and dent. Just quickly, when you make a loan to a lender, just kind of understand they're lending their money. If you're dealing with just a bank, and this is just an overview, there can be all kinds of ways of doing this, but generally they're lending their money. Say you bought a house for $300,000, you got a loan for $250,000, the bank is lending their money $250,000. Okay, so when you go to the closing table, you sign all the documents, the bank has put their $250,000 out there, okay, to close the deal. Then once the deal's closed, in theory, the bank goes and sells your loan, right, in the marketplace. You have an asset here. This is a debt, like an IOU, saying you're getting ready to pay back X amount of dollars each month over the next 30 years. That's a debt. That's an asset, okay, that's an asset. Now, depending on where that loan's going, and I shouldn't say that. I'm just going to say it doesn't matter where the loan's going. That loan is going to be audited at least once. And it may be audited, it could be audited after closing, it could be audited 2 years after closing, it could be audited 3 years after closing. Okay. It does not matter. But when it gets audited, if all the I's have not been dotted and T's crossed, then the investor can come back to the lender and say, you need to buy this loan back. Okay, there's no time frame, and guess what? And you got to put yourself in this situation. Okay, you just got your $250, right? $250,000, right, Shelly? And now you get ready to do what you're going to do, right? And then somebody shows up and says, well, no, loan was $250. You know what? You're going to have to buy it back. So we buy it back. Okay, write a check. Now we've got this loan, right? Then the loan moves into what's called the scratch and dent department.
Oh, this particular loan.
This particular loan. Okay. So number one, we try to answer the questions that the investor's asking. Okay. And if you can, all is well and good. But when you can't, and if you can't document it, then that loan moves into the scratch and dent department. Now the buyer's gone on, they have their keys, they're in their house, they're taking vacation. Right. They're happy.
It's their house.
Diana was so wonderful. She did such a good job. I'm going to refer everybody to her. And then the ops people or the money people inside these companies are saying, what the heck? I got to, here comes this beat up loan back, right? Only from the standpoint it's deficient in paperwork, okay? Then nobody wants to hold this asset on their books because they're getting their money paid back in dribbles over a 30-year period of time. Oh,
I see.
You see what I'm saying? Yes. You almost have to keep putting yourself in these positions to get it. Very good. So they say, I want my 125. Say no, excuse me. I want my 250 back as quick as possible. But you have this deficient loan documented. So guess what it's worth? 50 cents on the dollar. So the 250 now is you're getting ready to get 125. Now think about how many times a lender can do that and stay in business. Because they've paid commission, they've done everything. Think about it. This is real, guys. This is real. You don't hear a lot about it. Now, when we had a stronger marketplace, you might get 80 cents on the dollar, but still, it's a cost when you package a loan that's not fully documented. Got it? Scratch and dent.
Total liability.
It is total liability, yes. So this is why we're going deep on this particular, these topics, so you know. Insider. Okay, yeah. Be kind to the people that ask you for documents, and all you want to do is get them. I don't care if they've asked you for them 3 times. Call your loan officer and tell them they've asked you for them 3 times. And the reason I'm saying that is because there are electronic files that we may have, and there might be electronic files in your e-file, or there might be a miscommunication. You're sending it, but you're not sending all the pages. Or you're sending all the pages, but guess what? The little in the corner where it says 304, maybe that little tip got cut off and didn't get copied. So if you've got a 4-page document and the corner says 1 of 4, next page says 2 of 4, 3 of 4, 4 of 4, we need to have all of those documents. We need to be able to see those numbers. Sometimes those numbers are on the back page. So you may only have a 2-page document, but there are actually 4 pages to the document. So we need all of that. That is the type of stuff I'm talking about. You don't have the document, it gets audited after the fact. Then you come back to the customer and say, can you go back in March of 2021 and pull your ex-bank month statement.
You can actually do that.
You have to in order to get them to buy that loan.
Okay.
And sometimes we've paid over the years. I mean, I did this back when I was anyway. We paid people, gave them $100 gift certificate.
Yes.
It's worth it to us.
Yeah, it would be.
It is worth it to us. So anyway, this is serious business. Okay, let's move on to automated versus manual approvals. Automated versus manual approvals. Automated is automated. You enter the data, you hit the button, you get an approval or you don't. If you don't get an approval, you may be looking at a manual approval. Ideally, best practice, you want to get an automated approval if you can, although manual approvals are doable. The main thing that you want to know about manual approvals, because if you get denied by a lender, and unfortunately still we don't give the person who's been denied enough information, but you may be being denied by a lender, and yet it could be a manual approval and they may not do manuals. Just because you do loans doesn't mean you have to do manuals. Just because you do loans doesn't mean you have to do FHA or government loans.
Right.
So when you get denied sometimes, what is bothersome is that you don't get enough information to know exactly why you were denied, and maybe the loan can be done by someone else, which is why we say never let that first no, at least ever, never accept that as the gospel. So,
are there different documents that are required, whether it's a manual or an automated underwrite?
Yes.
Really?
If it's an automated underwrite, you might be able to get by with one bank statement. If it's a manual, you may have to provide 2, possibly 3 bank statements.
Okay.
You typically are always going to have extra money in the bank beyond what you need to close. We call that a cushion or residuals. So if you have a mortgage payment of $1,500, we might need you to have as much as 3 months of mortgage payments as a savings. So you may need to have $4,500. We call it reserves. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. You might be getting a manual underwrite because you don't have a credit score. And you guys, that is resolvable. And for all of you who are saying, I don't want to open a credit card or I don't have a credit score,
again.
you are shooting yourself in the foot. And there's really no good reason for that, in my opinion, because it's not necessarily a permanent thing. Like I've talked to some customers, because at the same time you want a loan, this is anybody. At the same time you want a loan, you want the best rate with the lowest price. Well, if what's holding you back from getting the best rate with the lowest price is the fact you don't have a credit score, then that's a resolvable problem. If you have a complete blank slate, I mean, try to pull your credit, there is nothing out there, it comes back blank, like this person has no credit. If you open up a credit card, it takes 6 to 7 months for it to generate a score. So this is why we encourage you to get started early, 2 years out, if at all possible, because you get time to do this and you don't have to be in a rush. And once you have your mortgage closed, close it out. You don't have to keep it open. Close it out. But when you are in the market for money, you need to talk the financing language if you want the best experience. And the best experience with the financing language starts with, what is your credit score? Now, when you move away from that, you're into manual underwrite land. When you get into manual underwrite land, tougher deal. You think you don't like us now, but with these automated approvals and we're asking for documents, manual approval is even more so. And that's because the automated computer is determining risk through all the, algorithms, logarithms, all the rhythms that they have. And if you don't have a score, they can't do that. And so now it's up to the underwriter.
I cannot read you.
Yeah, I cannot read you.
I cannot compute.
So we want to make you a loan, but now you're going to have to give us some other things so we can establish your credit, and you're going to have more limited and restricted debt ratios, right? You're going to have reserves and some. So that's why I'm saying no credit score, certainly can do those, but best experience, best rate, the whole entire bit, I would say it would be worth it to open up a couple of credit cards 6 months out, generate that score, make your life a lot easier.
Diana, how long has automated credit been approval? That's what I want to say. How long has that been in existence?
You know what? That's a good question, because I'm thinking 80s. 80s, 90s,
Me too.
But maybe
Me too,
not.
because we've been in the
Good
business.
question, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I
it hasn't
learned manual. There was no computers when I was.
Oh, and the reason I remember
paper
it.
everywhere.
Yeah. The reason I remember it is because I had to make my customers just understand that there's this person looking at this picture. You have to paint this picture.
Yeah.
And I would try to tell them, you know, if they had to write a letter of explanation,
Oh, yeah.
I said, tell them you love Jesus, you love, you know, America, and you love apple pie.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Because it's
you have
all about making yourself look good on paper.
and then making that underwriter feel you're getting it. Yeah, feel you, exactly. We have 2 minutes, so I've got a couple of things I do want to get through. The other thing is for those, because I've had these customers, Diana, I have no credit. Well, in their mind, they're either thinking, okay, so they say I have no credit. Back up, Diana. They say I have no credit. So I say, okay. So I pull the credit report. Guess what? They have credit. Okay, I've seen 2 situations.
Bankruptcy.
No.
No.
They've got collection accounts.
Fraud credit.
Oh.
In their mind, they're thinking, I don't have a car payment, I don't have a credit card, I have no credit.
Right.
Oh,
okay.
Okay? And you'll be surprised because those collection accounts could generate a score. And it's not pretty. So that's why even when someone says, Diana, you know, I don't have credit, I pull it. Okay, because if there's something they need to do, they need to work on it, okay? Right. So they can say, I have no, now you could have no score, but you still have bad credit through collection accounts that aren't scoring. So just kind of keep all that in mind. This is, again, that's why we encourage you to get started 2 years out. And then the last thing I want to just hone in on, 2 things. Bankruptcies and foreclosures are allowed, guys. It's just the timing.
They just need to know
that. So
that.
you've got 1 to 2 years. Call me if you have questions
Great.
on that. But bankruptcies and foreclosures are allowed. The last thing is down payment assistance. There is no one place for you to go to find out the down payment assistance programs. That's number 1. Number 2, if you have been a homeowner in the last 3 years, you can still get down payment assistance. That's tip number 2. And the third thing is you don't have to show need for down payment assistance. So if you're sitting on a fat savings account, you're sitting on a fat thrift savings or a 401k account, even though you're getting down payment assistance, you still want to show those assets because that shows that you have a cushion to fall back on.
Whoa, well done. All right.
That was a lot.
Yeah, the more you know. I still think you got to call it insider information, but we really appreciate you understanding and being with us on this insider information. Everybody have a great day.
Bye-bye.